Whether you operate one forklift or thousands, one location or hundreds, the new My Toyota customer portal can help you optimize your operation and material handling equipment. This one-stop, free-to-use platform is designed to help you take control of your information and make smarter decisions, all at the touch of a button. Register and access your data today at my.toyotaforklift.com. That's my.toyotaforklift.com.
The New Warehouse Podcast, hosted by Kevin Lawton, is your source for insights and ideas from the distribution, transportation, and logistics industry. A new episode every Monday morning brings you the latest from industry experts and thought leaders. And now, here's Kevin.
Hey, it's Kevin Lawton with the New Warehouse Podcast, bringing you a new episode. On today's episode, we are going to talk to Joe Campbell. He is the Senior Manager of Strategic Marketing and Applications Development at Universal Robotics. You might remember Universal Robotics. We talked to them on the show previously, way back last year when we were at ProMat. And Universal Robotics, they provide a lot of robotics solutions to a lot of different companies, and they do a lot of different partnerships. So we're going to talk about Universal Robotics, what it is they do from Joe's perspective, and then we're going to talk a little bit about their partnerships as well and get into that. So Joe, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, Kevin. Thank you very much for having me. I'm doing just fine.
Definitely happy to have you on. So how are things going for you, and how are things going for Universal Robotics?
Well, Universal Robotics is doing just fine. We've weathered the first phase of the coronavirus crisis. We're continuing to ship robots, and it's actually quite pleasing to see that we're continuing to get new demand from the medical products sector. One of the hallmarks of our product is it is very, very quick to deploy. And there's a lot of people right now really trying to pump up production and maybe even bring new products, into full manufacturing. And that's a good place that we can help.
Definitely. So why don't you give us, I guess, the broad scope of Universal Robotics for those listeners that might not be so familiar, and tell us what it is you guys exactly do and what kind of products you bring to the market.
Happy to. Yeah, we're about a 10-year-old company, founded in Denmark as part of a university consortium, and our focus from the very, very founding days has been to create a revolutionary class of robots called collaborative robots. And collaborative robots have a number of features. Maybe we'll get into them as we talk, but first and foremost, they are designed to work safely side by side with human operators. And it's still fairly radical today, and 10 years ago it was an absolute breakthrough in thinking. So we're now the number one collaborative robot company in the world. We're roughly 50% market share.
Oh,
and
wow.
To date we've shipped about 42,000 cobots into production environments around the world.
Wow, that's a lot. So they're very impressive, and congratulations on being number one, obviously. And so now one thing I think you guys are big on, and this was a big theme at MODEX 2020, and partnerships are huge, especially with the robotics companies, I'm noticing. And you guys are no stranger to partnerships as well. You guys have partnered with a lot of different people. So how does Universal Robotics kind of partner with these multiple other companies and have such success in those partnerships? And how do you think that helps move the industry forward and help move Universal Robotics forward as well?
Yeah, I'll give you a couple good examples in that area. Mm-hmm. So, first of all, I think one of the things that the founders did exceptionally well is define, where they were going to play a role. In our parlance, we call that swim lanes. Other people have used that phrase. And so early on, the company decided that we were going to be a pure robot manufacturer, and that is the area that we were going to focus on. And as we came out to market, we first started developing distributor partnerships, which is very common in the industry. But we put a lot of energy into those, a lot of investment, and that has definitely paid off for us. I think the second round of partnerships were in the program that we call UR Plus.
Okay.
So UR Plus is it's like the App Store for cell phones. We basically created an open architecture, in our robot products that allowed third parties to develop peripherals and accessories and other add-ons to expand the application of our robots or to facilitate their use and deployment.
Okay.
So the first round of these was they were all based on what we call the component level. So there's about 240 products right now in the program. The obvious ones, a whole bunch of grippers,
Right.
multiple vision systems, other sensors, robot transport units, robot covering, robot lifters. So these are all accessories. But the most important part is they're tested, certified, and validated by Universal. Right? So if anybody wants to develop a product to work with our robots, we're happy to facilitate it. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that it behaves well. It really, truly does integrate to the product and has the proper reliability and ease of use. And so that was a second layer of partnerships that we developed. The third layer we actually announced at MODEX,
Okay.
and that is an expansion of the UR Plus ecosystem into application kits.
Interesting.
So now we're basically working with partners who take multiple pieces and put them together into an applications kit. Right? And so it's really taking the robot and adding a significantly additional value to it to make it closer and closer to a real productized solution. And that was a very successful announcement, and we got some great examples in that space. And then finally, the fourth layer, which was really on display at MODEX, is we've been building a number of OEM partnerships
Okay.
with companies that are really focused on vertical solutions, very specialized, and that has also been very successful for us. It allows us to really stay focused on our core, and then build these really value-added partnerships to go deliver solutions out into the market.
Interesting. Yeah, I like the approach to that because you guys are kind of building that, like you said, just like the App Store. You guys are building like the base cell phone, and then you're partnering with these other companies to make all the accessories essentially, which I think is really smart because that doesn't, I guess, take you guys away from making sure that core product, which is the Universal Robotics product, is not compromised in any way. And I like that you guys are also following up with that and making sure that it's almost like a certified pre-owned car. You guys are validating that this partnership and what this company is doing with your products is valid and works the way it's supposed to work and is intended to. Yep. So the end customer has this experience.
And the whole intent for any of these partnership levels for us is we're trying to rethink and reshape the industry, and we're really trying to strip barriers down. I'm fortunate. I've been in the robot industry for quite a long time, and I've watched this evolution, and the approach that Universal takes is very different. We're able to deploy robots through our partners that are routinely generating payback in less than a year.
Wow.
And the way that's really being executed is in part and parcel to these partnerships. Everything we do is focused on trying to strip out the excessive cost, time, or risk in a robot project. And in doing so, it brings the cost down, it brings the deployment time down, and it really accelerates the deployment of factory automation, which is where we want to be.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's always been, one of the big things, whether it's with robotics or any kind of system in general, is just the deployment is always that kind of scary thing, right? Because you don't want to take down your operation or anything of that nature. So being able to deploy quickly and get that going is definitely a big plus. And one of the partnerships that you talked about the partnerships you're displaying at Modex. One of them was called the Quick Deployment Kit, right? So what is that? What does that involve?
We'll be back after a quick break.
You hear a lot about supply chains these days, because if the past couple years have taught us anything, it's that an efficient, well-managed supply chain is absolutely critical to keeping businesses successful and consumers happy. I'm Will Haywood, and I host a podcast called All Business, No Boundaries, where we talk about supply chains, how they work, what happens when they don't, and the innovations that are redefining what's possible in the world of logistics. Join me for insightful interviews with thought leaders and industry experts. We discuss how optimizing supply chains can break down the barriers that are holding businesses back. That's All Business, No Boundaries by DHL Supply Chain. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Well, that's part of the UR Plus program,
Okay.
and it was all built around that exactly. And so the intent there is to take take an application category, whatever it may be, and in this case, really come up with an application kit that is, you take out the custom engineering, you take out the custom programming, you take out the custom design. And with a kit that is, rock solid and validated and known to fit form and function, you really strip out a lot of time in the whole deployment cycle. And I think the other thing that's allowed us to do is, I say traditional automation it's always been an all or nothing proposition. Mm-hmm. And, we see it in logistics and in order fulfillment and, in other areas that your listeners will be familiar with. Right. The challenge there is when you're faced with an all or nothing proposition, solving the last 10% of the problem can suck up 50% of the project cost quite easily. And so what we're trying to do is build products that allow them to be deployed into lines with skilled human operators. And our philosophy is let the operators do what they do well. Right? Let us do the dull, dirty, and dangerous tasks. And that way your operators can work on higher value functions, more value added, more satisfaction for them, definitely easier to retain and hire. It's really a big win. And so we call that incremental automation. You don't have to make the multi-million-dollar investment all at once. You can chip away at your problems one robot at a time.
Right. Interesting. I think that's a big thing, right? Because like you said, it was all or nothing, and now several companies also are making it easier to deploy, and I think you guys are kind of leading the way as well with this new quick deployment kit and this UR Plus that you're talking about. And I think that makes it more accessible as well, and I think it makes robots in a way not as daunting, I guess, to people that are not so familiar with them or have not implemented them into their culture and I guess their company yet in their operation. So I think that's a really good thing, and I'm happy that the industry is moving in that way and that you guys are being a catalyst for that as well. So it's really, really good stuff. So now, two of the other partnerships as well that were at Modex were the Cross Palatron and the Right Pick 2 as well. Now that's part of the UR Plus ecosystem as well.
These guys are not UR Plus ecosystem partners. They are pure OEM solution partners, right? And so they've both built solutions, around not just our product, but our whole philosophy of programming and ease of use and ease of support. Mm-hmm. I think it's also important to note that, both of those products are designed to be operated in the safe mode around human operators.
Right.
And so, for example, if you look at the Cross Palatron kit, you've seen pack lines, right? Pack lines, especially in any kind of operations that is is high mix and low volume, they're constantly being reconfigured, right? You don't know what your production mix is going to look like on a Tuesday. It's going to change by Wednesday, to change again by Friday.
Right.
So the cross palletizer can actually be forklifted into position at the end of a line as you configure that line for this particular pack job, and it can operate safely in the proximity of human operators who may be doing, higher value functions. Could be doing quality inspection, could be doing order mixing and management, right? And that's kind of a hallmark for the way these OEMs have evolved.
Interesting stuff, and I like the flexibility, like you said there, that you can move it from line to line, or if you readjust your line based on what you're doing, then you can do that as well. And that kind of reminds me of operation that I worked in, where we did a lot of kitting, making store displays and things of that nature, and we were always switching up the way the line was based on the size of the kit and what was going into the kit. And
yep.
And we had a person basically making the pallet at the end. So being able to put this at the end and have that flexibility to move it around, I think that's a big plus as well, definitely. So the other one was the right pick 2, right? So right. So right pick 2.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about that, how that works, and who that partnership is with.
Well, it's a similar solution. It's with a company called MDSI. I think I've got the initials correct. I'm challenged every day with too many initials. But they focused in the order fulfillment space, and so they came up with the right pick. It's very modular. And is tightly integrated with a vision solution and the robot and in feed and out feed. And it's got the same characteristics as just about all of our partners. It's designed to be operated in proximity to human operators, and quick to deploy, and very flexible to move from operation to operation.
Definitely, that's great, and I love that it's focused towards order fulfillment as well, because a lot of times, I guess like robotics arms and things of that nature, people are thinking more on the manufacturing side, but it's good to see that, we'll be able to apply these to order fulfillment as well, which I think is going to become bigger and bigger, especially as we grow more, and also, as automation becomes more of a necessity just to keep up with consumer demand, and especially in times like right now where demand is just going crazy for certain industries because everybody's stuck at home. It's definitely a big thing. And then, so now one of the big debates around automation robotics, has always been, like we were just talking about, what will happen to jobs, right? And some will say that jobs will actually get elevated because robots will do these monotonous, over and over tasks that people don't want to normally do, or that are uncomfortable to do, like the order fulfillment picking or palletizing product, like we were just talking about with those two solutions. And but now Universal Robotics has the UR Academy, right? So, and that helps to prepare workers to work with collaborative robots. And I think that's really a great thing. So I'd love to hear more about that and how that works, because I think companies will need to start to understand how can they get their workers ready to work with these robots. And not everybody's going to be able to, go get a PhD in robotics or anything like that. So how does UR Academy work, and how does that get people ready for this?
Well, I'll give you some details, but let me take a half a step back and go back to the founders of our company. And, they obviously very skilled people, but their vision was that a robot should not be a complicated piece of equipment that only a specialist can take care of. Their concept was it's just another tool in the manufacturing process, and therefore it should be easily set up and programmed and operated by people who aren't, like you said, PhDs in robotics programming languages. So this is really core to our DNA. And the Academy is a great example of how that plays out. So right now we have 9 core modules and 5 advanced modules, and we have others in development. Basically, within 2 to 3 hours, somebody who is not a robot programmer, not an engineer, not a developer, can master the fundamentals of robot programming on the Universal platform.
Interesting.
Now, that doesn't make them an absolute advanced, programmer doing the craziest things, but literally they can be proficient enough to get a straightforward material handling or pick and place application up and running. And it's been wildly successful. We've had over 90,000 people take the training, right, from 131 different countries around the world.
Wow.
And it is effective. And I'm going to give you a really good example. It's one of my favorite case studies. A small company in rural Oregon was really struggling to find workers. I mean, they just couldn't. Unemployment out there at the time was less than 2%.
Oh, wow.
So the production manager concluded that they're going to have to automate because they were losing business because they just couldn't find enough manufacturing staff. So what he did, which was, I thought, brilliant, he pulled all his line workers together, and he told them he's going to buy a robot. And then he was very clear. He said, one of you is going to be the lead robot technician, and we're going to have a contest to see who really wants to do this.
Wow. So
he sent all of his production line workers to take the UR Online Academy. It's free of charge. You can do it right on your time, 24 hours a day, whenever. And so his whole production team took the UR Academy programming classes. And then he purchased his first robot, and he devised an application test to see who had learned the most and who could pick it up. And it was a 26-year-old woman who had been an operator at the plant for a couple of years, working on the line, stood out hands above everybody else. She really got it. She's a very good logical thinker. She really wanted that position as the lead robot tech.
Yeah.
And now she is. It's also interesting to look at how the acceptance of automation by that team went through the roof. Right? Because it made their jobs easier, right? And it was being directed, not top down. It was being directed by one of their own.
I love that because, I mean, that's so cool, actually, like that he just came in and said, when are you going to do it? And they all took the class. They all had the understanding. I think that's the great way to kind of implement something like that. And the fact that now they like the robot, because I can see, in some cases where, companies like, oh, we're going to start to automate, and people, all automatically be like, oh no, like, scared for their job or something. But the fact that he did it in that approach, I think makes a world of difference for just the culture of the company, and the fact that they were all able to go through the academy, and then one person was able to kind of step up and really take to it. I think is credit to you guys as well for the material that you're putting out there, and the fact that 90,000 people have taken. I mean, that's insane. So how do people?
That's a big number. It is.
Yeah, that's crazy. And so how do people get started on that? They just go on your website?
Very simple. Go to www.universal-robots.com and go to the academy, and you can register and start at your pace. Start at module 1 and work your way up and forward. It's really, really quite easy. I think you made another point there about it. It kind of makes the manufacturing floor a little bit more attractive. This is like unprecedented times right now. What do we have? 16 million people unemployed here in the last 3 weeks. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But we're going to get back to normal. I wholeheartedly believe that. And normal before the coronavirus was a really, really challenging time in manufacturing. All phases of manufacturing, right, including distribution center and warehousing. Right. Companies can't hire. Right? It's been difficult to hire people into manufacturing, and there's a couple problems that drive it. I mean, part of it is guys like me, the baby boomers. We are retiring at the rate of 10,000 a day.
Yeah.
And that number is going to continue. The projections for the labor shortage in manufacturing are really aggressive. And again, this is before coronavirus. We'll see what they reset to, but it's still by 2018 we are going to be short millions of jobs in manufacturing. So this is where we think collaborative robots have a really significant role to play. And it's not just, helping to solve production problems, but we've heard anecdotally from our customers that when they start to bring robots in, particularly collaborative robots, it's easier to hire because the work environment takes on a whole different look and feel, particularly to younger people who are just in the workforce or entering the workforce. They don't want to do dull, dirty, and dangerous work. They want to be challenged, and they like the technology.
Interesting. That's a really interesting point, and I think that's actually funny enough. That's one of the reasons I started the podcast, because I was realizing that there's all these things going on in distribution and manufacturing, like you said, that are actually really cool. And I don't think people that are like outside of the world, our world, right? They're not realizing all these cool things that are happening. So it's really interesting that you're saying that, some of your customers are saying that it's making it easier to hire people who are just entering the workforce or are younger and, looking to work with these types of things. So I think that's a really interesting point, and it's a totally different angle for a reason to start to automate at your company. So that's really cool that you pointed out. So there's some definitely really, really, really great points. So Joe, I really appreciate you coming on the show, and I love the story about the small company in Oregon. I think that's just fantastic. So how can people find out more information about Universal Robotics?
I would definitely start with our website. It is very, very rich with features and information and education. Besides the Academy, we have a tool called the Application Builder. Okay. You can actually start to configure your own automation cells and watch them run. Oh, wow. We have the Academy. We have a huge collection of case studies. Just like the company that I mentioned, this company called Darex, Darex. Okay. But we have case study after case study, and you can watch how other people have solved their manufacturing problems with collaborative robots. So that's I think it's a great place to go. And the website is, again, it's www.universal-robots.com.
Awesome. And we'll post all that information on newwarehouse.com as well. So Universal Robotics definitely doing very cool things. Joe, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hey, Kevin, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. And let's talk again.
You've been listening to the New Warehouse Podcast with Kevin Lawton. Subscribe and check us out online at thenewwarehouse.com.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you want more content from the New Warehouse, check out our new video series called All Hands on LinkedIn. Just search for the New Warehouse on LinkedIn and follow along.